Cool. So, hello. I'm not used to speaking in front of large groups, real people sitting there in 3 whole dimensions, but I've only got 20 minutes to share a journey that's taken me and my team about 10 years to tread. But I'm pretty chatty, so we should be fine. But first, who am I and why should you care? I'm Toby Jackson. I'm the site reliability engineering lead at Future PLC, a company you probably haven't heard of, but I guarantee you have interacted with some of our technology or some of the content we have made. We are the company behind these brands. And so many more, it would melt your brain, not to mention all the back-end systems that are required to make these brands world-leading. I'm going to talk a little about how the last decade has been a driver for constant change in my own team, but I'm going to skip to the end to what I believe is the most important thing we've learned in that time. Success relies on the health of your team more than their skills alone. And by health, I mean more than just physical or psychological. A healthy team is one that minimizes politics or confusion. It's productive, it's consistent, it enables critical feedback and recognizes everyone's voice in the room. A healthy team will almost always outperform a more experienced but dysfunctional team. Okay, written it down, got your photos, that's it, end of talk. We're done. Wait, there's more. We've got to start somewhere. Our understanding of team health is not delivered fully formed. We had to take some first steps. But as time is short, I'll give you a quick summary of how our team was forged in the chaos of acquisition. Okay, so it's a world map. It's a bit grandiose. Let's get a bit closer. So at first, we were in Bath, World Heritage City in the south of England, and it was good. We had half a dozen or so engineers all co-located in the same location as the rest of our technology group. We had a strong engineering team we built through years of working together, numerous lunches and pub nights, in-jokes and shared infrastructure, war stories of incidents and failures. We had a small product space. It's highly visible to our organization and the public, and a strong motivation to do anything for success. Future at that time was in a challenging economic climate, and it was a sink or swim situation for everyone. And we thrived. We challenged ourselves and each other, built strong accountability and clarity, and the results showed it. We were at this time a strong, healthy, albeit often hungover, technology team. Then Future started buying companies. Nothing big at first, mostly editorial brands and simple technologies. Then we bought a big one. Suddenly our engineering team split. We had an SRE team and a systems engineering team, and our team went global overnight. This was quickly followed by acquisition after acquisition after acquisition after acquisition, and ultimately time, which brings us to today. A team of skilled SRE with their own complex origin stories thrown together by the whims of our mergers and acquisitions team. So what's the big deal? A remote team working on distributed systems across time zones with half a dozen different dev teams, cultural differences, personal differences. Can't be that hard, right? Well, anyone that's been through a merger process knows that the first thing out the door is trust. It's not, is my role safe? What about my team, my product, my customers? What's next? Who's in charge? So for SRE, a team now made up of folks from 8 different acquisitions, how do we rebuild that high-performing, cohesive team and embrace new challenges as opportunities? So let's look again. The role of SRE needed to evolve as our organization evolved. Each new acquisition brought not just new people, but technologies, cultures, techniques, and challenges. We had to be willing to adapt as our organization scaled up. So we're back in time. It's 2018, Future PLC is a single technology office, and things are pretty smooth. And out of the blue, Future buys a big old tech company. So that's fine. We start off basically operating as 2 distinct engineering teams. There's 2 leads for the whole group who are trying to align to each other, bring our teams together, while also maintaining a pretty significant infrastructure operating very different ways. We each had been used to running familiar ecosystems using tools that, while complex, were built and used pretty consistently. And unfortunately, both teams were using totally different tools, vendors, hosting solutions. So we had 2 teams, and our SRE roles were split pretty cleanly along those divisions. The problem is the relationship between our 2 teams was superficial at best, with only a passing awareness of each other's existence. We needed change. So we mashed everything together. One big team, realistically, plenty of things had changed to make this work. Much of our software stack was better understood by now, migrated or decommissioned. Development teams began to interact services together. And crucially, there were many more opportunities for a truly aligned SRE team to keep working together. That said, we'd added a few more acquisitions. Some people have joined, some people have left, and we're starting to push the limits of the pizza box team. We started having long, boring meetings, stand-ups took forever, no one was really engaged with each other unless they shared a project at the same time. So our role this time was to support everything for everyone all the time. Not particularly sustainable. So we cracked the team up again. At this time, rather than being based on acquisition, we recognized that there were technical specializations in the team that would empower the individuals to really showcase their skills and bring the overall team forward. We're still one global team, but we had squads. One squad, mostly based in the US, was our Amazon team. We had a data center team in Europe, and a third was a sort of enablement, kind of skunkworks team that really helped us all work together. At this point, our role was to support the various acquisitions, start aligning. We were adopting Kubernetes pretty hard at this point, and start using a set of default practices. And simplification was key, as we were getting everything was still getting a little out of hand. Acquisitions were still coming in. It worked pretty well for a while, but we'd been too aggressive. We were too small. These squads were too small, too distributed, and too fragile to work effectively. Something needed a change. So we're back to 2 teams. I know what you're all thinking, Toby, you've used the same slide again, but no, look carefully. There is a magic green box. That is the SRE team. We're aligned on geography, plus in reality, another 5 or so people have joined, both sides of the pond. Each location has a team lead, and everyone in the group is empowered to prioritize and select their workload from a common shared team backlog. We use refinements to discuss topics, breakouts to debate and decide actions, and retrospectives to measure the pulse of the team. It's actually pretty great. At this point, we're supporting 100 or more developers across literally thousands of deployed applications in Kubernetes, ECS, Fargate, Rackspace, legacy VMs in Debian, CentOS using Puppet, Chef, GitLab, GitHub. We've got OpsGenie and PagerDuty for alerting, CloudWatch and Alert Manager, Argo CD, and on and on and on. Our technical cognitive overload is extreme. We've managed to simplify and align many of our products from the sidelines through nudges, merge requests, but most SRE were increasingly focused on specific teams and technologies. And while we behaved as 2 teams, the reality is a team of individuals, each reporting to each other, but not really collaborating. Our role was just to manage the chaos effectively. Surface what matters, go do it. So, what do we do? So we took another look at the team. Okay, what if we looked at it from a different angle? Pretty sure there are other teams around somewhere, right? We're not the only team in Future's tech stack. We discovered these strange groups called developers, who up until now had mostly been raising demands for access or resource or generating alerts on our on-call phones. Maybe they're important somehow? After some consideration and a good read of the team topologies book, we struck on the idea of aligning our SRE not to geography, not to technology or experience, but to our organizational value streams. Future has a lot of developers and teams, but we identified a small number of core values that represented things like content creation, advertising, subscriptions. And we started our journey into stream alignment. So members of our team now are aligned with specific value streams in our dev group. They sometimes work with one team, sometimes 3 or 4, effectively specializing the product we are providing rather than the technologies that it's based on. We still operate under the hood as a unified SRE team, but now we have individuals that are working directly with the delivery teams to build product reliably, embedding our culture, building automation, observability, security, all those great things. Our goal is to magnify the culture of SRE by integrating ourselves into the team and sharing our techniques. This model provides a host of improvements for us. And new starters joining our team now get a nice little small segment. They can look at a stream, not the overall system. Our cognitive overload is reduced by somewhat specializations within product. We are closer to product, which means we are closer to customers and can share the success of releases and not just the pain of outages. We can support building operable architectures together and not just handle tickets for resource. As always, there are challenges. Now, members of SRE are now working with developers and SRE, and our integration is a slow process, often taking different paths for different teams. And our role today is understand the product value, represent SRE culture, and empower the delivery teams to success. So all these changes, aligning with teams, empowering individuals, it relies not on technology or tools. And there's a secret. Remember my earlier slide. Success relies on the health of your team more than skill alone. So let's ask a simple question. What does a healthy SRE team look like? Or indeed any team. What are the clues that hint towards not simply a group of individuals doing a job together, but actually operating as a cohesive group of aligned individuals with a purpose? I believe there are 5 key elements to the success of our future SRE team that may be of use to you guys. So first of all is trust. Trust is the glue that holds the team together. Talked earlier on about empathy. I think trust and empathy go hand in hand. It's the foundation upon which everything was built. With trust, ideas can flow freely and we're willing to take risks, knowing that our teammates have our back. Without trust, it's like building a tower on mudflats. Sure, it might stand for a bit, but sooner or later it'll burn down, fall over, and sink into the swamp. In a remote team, trust is even more important. It's harder to build and needs care and protection. And trust can be lost in an instant. We have to be able to build trust through a number of regular meetings. We have built trust through a number of regular meetings. We have a daily swap shop where we ask a few important questions for us, handing over any incidents, what are you doing today, what's interesting or cool. But we also share personal stories. We share ourselves in these conversations. What are you watching on TV? What recipes have been solved? What are you doing this weekend? It's, as a team lead, it's important to show that it's okay to show your weakness. Asking for help on problems or simply sharing some of your personal experience can build trust with your groups or in one-to-ones. We also build team trust through regular retrospectives, and we rely on a facilitator to support that conversation, guiding the teams towards actions and goals, but also taking time to reflect on the challenges and difficulties. The outcome of those retros are shared with the rest of the group, and our team leads keep an eye on the trends over time to understand the trends that might need additional support. The team that trust each other, that understand each other's motivations and limitations, and their objectives. The next behavior for SRE is blamelessness. Being blameless is not just about an environment. Being blameless is about creating an environment where we feel safe owning up to our mistakes because we know the team is there to support us. It's not judge us. It's not about dodging responsibility. It's about understanding that failures are often systemic and the team's responsibility to address them collectively. In a blameless culture, accountability is shared and the focus is on progress, not punishment. When I joined Future, we had a concept of fail cake. It was ironically a consequence of a very blame-oriented culture where issues or outages required a debrief, where those that caused it were expected to bring cake as an apology. Over time, as our culture developed and our behaviors matured, fail cake became a cry of shared accountability. Failure happens in the open with a cry of cake, and a spontaneous crowd of support and assistance would form. As our team diversified and distributed, fail cake has become stale in the history of our culture, but in its place are more typical practices, postmortems, instant channels, deep Slack threads of collaboration. One of our SRE recently pushed a change directly to main, deployed something to production sooner than they expected, caused a small but noticeable disruption. How did they react? Did they try and fix it before anyone noticed? Did they try and cover it up? Or perhaps pretend it wasn't their responsibility? Obviously, none of these things. Within moments of realizing their mistake, they contacted the rest of the team, explained what the situation was. The team swarmed around it, solved it. Great, instant resolved. But there's more. After realizing the fragility of this particular subsystem, that individual then worked with the team, upgraded product configuration across many of our systems, so that particular failure can't happen again for anyone. With a blameless environment, we reduced the time to recovery and improve long-term reliability. So, next, collaboration. It's the magic that turns a group of individuals into a high-forming team. It's more than just working together, it's actively seeking out diverse perspectives. Talked earlier again about healthy conflict. It can be challenging to manage. Healthy conflict. It's the line between passion and stubborn can be subtle, but focusing people on the value of the discussion, you can really drive things forward. Making sure everyone has their voices heard can require a few techniques, especially with video calls, text, email, and remote ops. Dot voting, hand signals, story points, roundtable discussions, each can provide opportunities for individuals to make their point. There are occasions where disagreement over an outcome can't be resolved. Collaborative team, you should be encouraged to accept decisions from the group that may not align with your personal opinions without too much resistance. In a collaborative team, the sum is truly greater than its parts, as each member brings their unique strengths and insights to the table. So I've mentioned postmortems, retros, and other ceremonies, and these lean into my next behavior, elegance. One of the most challenging aspects of being an SRE in the future is that of inconsistency. I've been asked in the past whether we have strict rules on language or libraries or templated pipelines, and no, we don't. It would never work at Future. Our technology teams operate like service providers to the rest of the organization, exposing APIs or function with little need for tighter integration. So to provide value to our delivery teams, the SRE team have had to adopt practices that can flow and dance around these inconsistencies while still being able to drive adoption of common techniques. Using the power of stream alignment, I touched on earlier, and basic good old-fashioned human interaction, we identify common friction points for teams and build solutions that smooth those edges off. Elegance represents to me the concept not only of simplification or consistency, but instead makes the right outcome the easiest outcome. You can make complex process simple by building a Jenkins job to run it, but an elegant solution might remove that complexity entirely, and that's a lot more scalable. Finally, the top of the pyramid, success. Celebrating success is fuel for teams' motivation. It's not just about acknowledging the wins, it's about sharing them. Shouting them from the rooftops. In the face of challenges and problems, it's easy to forget the victories, big or small, but in a team that prioritizes success, each achievement becomes a reminder of what's possible. It's about creating a culture where success is a shared result, where everyone feels a sense of pride in what the team accomplishes. So let's not just achieve success, let's celebrate it, share it, and use it as inspiration for the challenges that lie ahead. So, in the short time, I've shared only the surface of how SRE culture works at Future and how we've collaborated over the years and some quick techniques we've used along the way. A healthy team is an innovative force. In a world of distributed collaboration, where faces are pixels on a screen and coffee breaks have become solitary, lonely moments, building a culture of connection becomes a superpower. Cultivate an environment where every team member feels heard, valued, challenged, and empowered, and the score takes care of itself. Thank you.